This is the Fire Dog Podcast.
The views and opinions presented on today's episode are those of the speaker and do not necessarily represent the views of the Department of Defense or the United States Air Force.
Welcome, my name is Matt Wilson, and thank you for joining us for episode 8 of the Fire Dog Podcast. Our guest today is a former military training instructor, and he currently serves as an assistant chief of operations at Eglin Air Force Base Fire Department. Please welcome Master Sergeant Jordon Pritchett. What's up, Jordan?
Hey, what's going on?
How's it going, man? It's great to have you on. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
How's the weather down there in Florida?
It's really nice, but with all this craziness going on, we kind of have to stay inside. Same thing with the kids. School's getting canceled, so we're staying in, but going outside just in our front and backyard, trying to enjoy Florida the best way we can.
Yeah, man, the coronavirus is killing everything. You
It
can't
is.
do anything. Yeah, everybody has all this time off, but nowhere to go.
Exactly.
Well, Jordan, tell us about yourself, man. Where are you from? How long have you been in? What bases have you been stationed?
So I'm kind of from all over. My dad was in the Air Force. He's retired Air Force. Stepmom retired Air Force. Grandpa retired Air Force. Mother-in-law retired Air Force. So it's kind of like a family business. We've been all over. If I had to claim a place, it would be Kansas. A lot of my family lives there. I've been in for 13 years. McConnell was my first base. I was at Mildenhall, obviously Lackland, and now here. Those are the places I've been to.
Cool. Yeah, I'm an Air Force brat too. What'd your parents do in the military?
My dad, he was security forces. Then he became a first sergeant, and then eventually came back into being in security forces and retired. I was actually stationed with him at McConnell Air Force Base before he retired. So
That's wild.
it was.
That was your first base, McConnell?
Mm-hmm. And I got ribbed quite a bit because of that. So
Because your dad was a cop.
well, he was a cop, and then he was the group superintendent there.
That's pretty legit, though. Sounds like you had an in.
Not always. It had, with everything, it's got its good and bad. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, that's cool.
But it's good. The Air Force has been great. I'm loving it so far.
Yeah, awesome. What about your mom? What'd she do?
So my stepmom, she was actually a flight attendant. She was a UTM, and she got out of the Air Force back in 2000. So she 20 years. Same thing with my grandpa. He worked on U-2s. So we have that vast, big, broad spectrum of that Air Force family and doing all sorts of different things.
That's awesome. And I'm guessing that's why you joined the Air Force.
Yes.
Probably. Yeah.
I didn't want to do college. I'm not a big fan of school, but it doesn't really matter because I'm doing school right now. But my dad said, "Hey, you got to do something. Let's go.
Let's get after it. 13 years in, man. Like, come on."
Yeah, let's go.
I'm in the same boat. It took me a while to engage the gears a little bit for school, but I'm cruising right now. So
yeah, same here. Yes, sir.
Awesome. So how did he feel when you joined fire protection?
Well, you know how you get that list of jobs. You get the list of jobs, right? And I told him I wanted to be a cop too, and he was like, "I don't. Let's look at these different options here." And
That's bad when a cop is telling you to steer clear.
He did. And I remember sitting at the dinner table with him, and he pointed and he said, "Did you think about this one?" And I was like, "No." It was pointed to fire protection. Obviously, he's like, "I didn't even think of it." And when your dad is the first sergeant at AFPC, things can go your way, a little bit, and he kind of helped me out with that.
Man, look at you! You did have an in.
That was before. That was before I joined. So, and then so next thing I know, I'm going to basic training, July 18, 2006, and do my thing, and then going to Goodfellow, and then at McConnell, and just like everybody else's adventure, it all starts somewhere. So
yeah, for sure. You did a little time at Lackland, as we mentioned in the introduction. So tell us about your experience as a TI, military training instructor. What was it like? How'd you get picked up for it?
Well, obviously, I was in the cycle of the DSD, developmental special duties. That all started happening. It was the fall cycle of 2015 they ask you for your one or two choice. I said, look, I want to do it. I saw a couple guys going. One guy specifically, he's a senior master sergeant select Ordway down in Tyndall. He just left TI duty, went to Korea. Now he's down at Tyndall. I saw him do it, and I was like, man, that motivated me because that was something I always wanted to do. But it's the fear of the unknown, right? You don't ever know what's going to happen. You have such a cush life, you loving it, and then I saw him get picked up. I was like, man, that motivated me. So I really asked my chief Moore at the time, and he was all about it. He said, you'd be perfect for it. And when I went down there, I actually shadowed Senior Master Sergeant Select Ordway. And, you're in that environment. So you shadow him, you're with an MTI before you actually go to the school, the MTIS school. I was with him for about, a month. And as soon as the first day I was there, I was like, this job's for me. I was like, I love this. The environment, the no kidding, being in it every single day and seeing behind the scenes and, how you can make an impact. That was important to me. And I loved every second of it. So I went down there, did my shadow time, went through MTIS, the school, got out of the school in September of 2016. And then I went over to what's called the 323rd Training Squadron to get my certifications. I got trained up there, and then went to the 321st Training Squadron where I was a line instructor, where I pushed flights. And then I actually got picked up to go to be a trainer at the 323rd Training Squadron, where I trained other MTIs. I actually worked hand in hand with other fire dog MTIs, where there's a ton of us that are down there killing it every single day. We do great things down there. And what happened was BMT decided what's called decentralization, where they had the trainers actually go back into the line squadrons, all the different squadrons. And I was luckily enough to get picked up to go back to my home squadron, the 321st, the Warthogs, to start up the training program there with the training superintendent. And I did that for a while, headed that program up. And then I got picked up to be what's called the training superintendent at the 321st, where I was in charge of other trainers, charge of the operations of the squadron, the ins and outs, all these different things. And then next thing you know, I'm here at Eglin. So I can't speak for everybody, but I loved being an MTI. That's probably been my favorite job in the Air Force so far.
I don't know how many people would say that or would actually want to be a TI. I think I'm in that category of people too. I think we're a rare breed. I think there's only a handful of people that would say, that's what I want to do. I want to be a TI. Yeah. But what rank were you when you got picked up?
I was a tech. I was tech sergeant. Went down there as a tech sergeant and then made master out of there. So I was lucky enough to make master out of there.
I bet it was competitive up there or down there.
It was.
There's a lot of sharp airmen there.
You don't think about it, but there are. They try. I think they really do try to pick the best NCOs and senior NCOs to go down there to Lackland to help train airmen, the warrior airmen. And you just hope for the best, right? You just hope for the best. And I was lucky enough to have leadership there that saw my potential and leadership there that was willing to take care of me, and they did every single day. And I wouldn't be where I was at as an MTI, because I was very successful, I think, without the leadership that I had. Fire dog MTIs, Senior Master Sergeant Webster out at Cheyenne Mountain right now. He was one of the main guys that took care of me. You can't go anywhere with any job, right? You can't go anywhere without anybody saying, hey, I see something in you. Let me put you in the right spot, because that's really what it's all about, right? So that I was lucky enough to be that way as an MTI.
Leadership will make or break you sometimes.
It will.
There's so much potential out there, and a lot of times your success leans on whether or not you have good leadership.
Just that one guy. You just need one person
bring it out of you.
Yeah. I see something in you, man.
Yeah.
Let's go. And I had those people there, and it helped. It helped. So
yeah, sounds like DSD. The intent of it is to pick the best. And it sounds like they're doing that pretty well. And it's crazy to me that there's so many fire dog MTIs because it's a relatively small career field when compared to the rest of the Air Force. That says a lot about our career field.
I had guys, I worked with day in, day out. I pushed flights with them at MTI. Master Sergeant Roke out at, Cannon Air Force Base. Holloman Air Force Base. I was with him for 3 flights. We had students together that we pushed, So, and it's just like we all clicked, like we all knew, each other's backgrounds. We talked and we knew we got the job done down there, and you'll find that like I said before, fire dog MTIs, they're really successful down there, really successful.
That's awesome. There's a couple down there still, right? I know one of them at least.
There's a ton. Yeah.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, that's awesome. So tell us about, I've heard horror stories. I don't know who from, so I don't know if they're credible, about MTI School, or MTIS as you referred to it. Is that what the acronym stands for?
Yeah. So the MTI, so Military Training Instructor School, it's a 8-week course. And it's, it may have been back in the day, before all that, the scandal and all that, but, you get down there and I had, that you got to obviously show somebody respect because of the positional power that they have, that this person has that, knowledge power because they've been doing it for a long time and they're going to expect a lot out of you. Obviously being a military training instructor school instructor. So it's not difficult. You do what you got to do. You take the biggest thing that people I think have trouble with is accepting feedback, direct feedback that they may have not ever had that before. The simple things like you don't even think about, hey, your pocket's undone, and you're getting that from a technical sergeant, same rank as you. Oh, shoot. Okay. Thanks. I didn't even think about that. You know what I mean? Those little things that we forget in the operational Air Force, hands in our pockets, your hair's getting close, all those little things that we don't necessarily think about, but it's a big deal down there. And it's a big deal. It starts in military training instructor school. And when you go to your line squadron to get trained up, we try to, especially me, when I was a trainer, I would really point those things out first because look, you're setting the image, you're setting the example every day in and day out. But no, it wasn't, going back to your question, it wasn't, no real horror stories. No.
I've heard that it's like driving a basic training flight. Do they drive, or is it you show up Monday through Friday, 8-hour days?
Oh, so for the school, yeah, it's Monday through Friday. You get holidays off.
Right.
When it really kicks off is when you.
Or any of that?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
You go through the school and then, you go to your line squadron to get trained up. That's when it really kicks off. Like, oh, dang, I'm on the grind now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So those guys at Eglin were probably stoked knowing they had a TI coming to them to straighten them up a little bit.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's one of those things you go in and I try not to say, oh, I was at Lackland. You try not to say, oh, I was a TI, because there's going to be a stigma about you no matter what. There just is.
They know, dude. Whether or not you know it, they know you're TI.
Yeah. And I'm slowly starting to figure that out. So, just by the way you talk, and I'm a loud person anyway. So they're like, oh, I think, I'll tell you about Eglin. Those guys have done nothing but take me in and, show me the ropes. I've been out of the career field for 3.5 years. They've done nothing but show me the ropes, take care of me. Senior Master Sergeant Emery, Senior Master Sergeant Shetler, all those guys, the chief there is taking care of me, and I appreciate it. So, all the knowledge that you gain from the Air Force, right? Or going down there and all the leadership skills, you're going to lose that, right? When you come back to the career field. So you got to make that up. And, those guys have really done a great job. And Eglin's on the forefront of a lot of stuff. And they're teaching me, show me the right way to do things.
That's a huge place.
It is. It's the first day I saw it. It was just, when I showed up here, I was like, oh my gosh, how am I ever learn this place? 10 stations, Yeah.
So, so you talked about being loud, man. I'm curious, how hard was it to figure out your cadence and your calls and stuff like that? I always thought that if I went to school, that'd probably be one of the hardest things to try to teach or to learn, is to how to have like a good commanding cadence and stuff like that.
So my trainer, so now Senior Master Sergeant Slade Campbell, he's a maintenance guy. He's out at Davis Monthan. What we did was, it was like a Sunday, it was a Sunday. My first flight was in 0 week. What he had us do, we came in about an hour early, and we went on the PT podium. There's a blue podium, and he just had me yell. He's like, yell. I went, oh, okay. So I did it, and you can feel it. If you don't do it right, you're going to jack up your throat. It's going to mess up your vocal cords if you don't do it right. So you start doing that. You start doing, commands, and then you start adding in those, all those different things that have to go do with your command voice, and you start adding in one thing at a time, and then it just grows. You know what I mean? You're not going to get it overnight. That's the whole thing about being an MTI. You're not going to get it overnight.
I guess that's like anything. You got to practice.
Yes, and all the yelling that you're going to do, even if I'm yelling at a trainee, you try to use your diaphragm and all that stuff. So it just comes. It comes to you. And then one day you wake up, you're like, oh, dang, where did that come from? You know what I mean? So,
yeah, look at me.
Yeah. Oh, marching through the atrium and loud as can be. So it just comes. It comes like anything, riding a bike.
So what was the ops tempo like as an MTI? I mean, we hear stories of the long hours, the time away from family. What was it actually like?
So the ops tempo is so I'll explain to you, you are going to be away from your family. It starts mentally first, right? So especially when you're a newer MTI going through, because you got to earn your way, right? You come through, and your first couple flights, you're trying to learn everything. What they did was, it's 10 hours a day. Okay. So 10 hours a day, max, 6 days a week. Now, if you're going from 0 week to through that first week, you're going to work every single one of those days. So that's a grind. And then you'll get that Sunday off when they go in the second week. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It does a little bit. So you look forward to 0 week, or that it's coming. You can plan for, hey, babe, I'm gone for 6 days.
Exactly. Yeah. And there might be, so you either work those mornings, you come in at 0500 and you'll work till 1500, and then if you're the afternoon instructor, you'll come from 1100 to 2100, or maybe a little bit after that, after 2100 to take care of admin stuff. But then when that first Sunday comes around where you can leave your flight actually alone, you'll do what's called put them on a schedule, where they go to church and they kind of take care of themselves, because you're trying to teach them to be, autonomous, basically, your flight. So you look forward to that first Sunday where you can be off. But even then, when you're new, you're constantly thinking about it. Even me, when I was an older instructor, like, man, almost both of my flights not jacking up. Yeah.
Oh, I got you. Yeah. You're worried about what they're doing when you're not around.
Yep. Because you don't want to get that text from somebody, hey, your flight's doing this. And you're just like, man, I got to deal with that tomorrow. So, but if you give them the right directions, just like anybody, you give them the right directions, they'll do the right thing. So.
Right. Yeah, for sure. What about breaks between? It's 8 weeks, right? It's how long it takes to push a flight. Breaks between that. Do you get any break between that?
So typically no. Now it might be different for every instructor. For me, it was, you do that. So at first, when I was there, it was 7.5 weeks, and they changed their program to 8.5 weeks. So I would do my 7.5 weeks of pushing a flight. That Monday I would ship them out. Wednesday morning, hey, I got a brand new bunch, got a brand new 52. And then, that would happen. It would all depend on the flight load for the squadron. Some squadrons were a little bit different. So it would all just depend. And then Manning too. We had there's near the end there for us. I left in December. It was tight. It was really tight on Manning and those people that, hey, I'm going to put you out for 8.5 weeks, get your mind right. You'll fill in on flights. You'll do a little bit of CQ here and there. There wasn't like that. It wasn't like that near the end. It was back to back to back to back to back for some guys. So it was tough. It was a grind.
Is it a 3 or 4 year tour?
For me, it was 3.5. They changed it. They just now changed it to 3.
Right.
Yes, sir.
I knew that. Yeah. So 4 years. Imagine 4 years of that back to back. And I guess TIs have Manning issues too. It's not just the fire department. So,
well, everybody. It's across the Air Force.
Yeah. So, do you have any recommendations for firefighters that might want to? I know you have to get into the DSD process, and of course, your department leadership has to sign off on that and put your name into the hat. If they make it that far, what are recommendations for them to prepare, if any?
My biggest recommendation would be get with somebody who's either down there or who has recently done it, that can actually tell you what's actually happening, because everybody's got their own personal opinion on BMT. Everybody thinks they know about BMT until they're down there. Get with somebody that knows what they're talking about. That's my biggest recommendation. Don't listen to the horror stories. Don't listen to, all these different things. Just get with somebody that knows what they're talking about. Yeah. That they can put your mind at ease.
Do they take master sergeants by chance? Do they need any master sergeants right now? I'm looking to go, man.
No, they stopped.
They did? Oh,
so,
man.
Yeah. Look, if you want to throw your name in the hat, why not? Get after it, man.
I thought they were taking masters, but that's all right.
So no, they're trying to change it to where they have basically all staffs and techs. They're trying to get back to that. There was a curve where there was a lot of master sergeants there. They're kind of sprinkling those guys out, those men and women out, and they're trying to make it to where those staffs and techs are there with obviously flight leader, flight commanders, lieutenants, captains. You have a chief in a squadron. You got a few senior master sergeants there, so they're trying to wean all the master sergeants out, man.
Yeah, and put mostly staffs and techs in there.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir.
And you mentioned men and women. That was a big change from the controversy a few years back, right? There's supposed to be, or they tried to add a lot more females, right?
So yes. So what you try to do as best as possible, get it Manning provided. You'll want to have at least 25% females, ladies within the squadron. And then on a flight team, there's typically 4 in a flight team. You'll have 3 males and at least 1 female MTI. We try to do that as best as possible.
So let's get into your transition back into the fire department. So what was it like transitioning back? Were you treated differently because you spent time outside of the career field? I know you kind of kept it close to your chest that you might have been a TI, but I think that some guys out there doing DSDs, they may or may not think that, hey, I'm going to be treated differently. I'm going to be looked at differently because I've been outside of the career field. What was it like for you?
I'll tell you the toughest thing for me is, being down in San Antonio, just the environment of San Antonio. It's a training base. You're on high alert all the time, right? The biggest thing for me is when I first got back in, I'm on high alert. Is somebody have their hands in their pockets? Is somebody, that's all I'm thinking about. Right. And that transition was tough for me because that's all I'm looking for. Granted, that stuff is important, military discipline, dress and appearance, that stuff is very important, but I'm just now getting to where it's like, what's the operations mission, right? What's the big thing that we're doing here? And that took me a minute to where I'm really getting back into that groove, and I'm getting back into it now, realizing that there's the scope of what we do every single day is important, but it starts with those hands in those pockets, making sure those people are squared away. And then it kind of goes up, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That was difficult for me, and I'm just now really starting to get into it now. Do I still call people out? Heck yeah, that's important.
Yeah, it is.
But I'm not coming in full force anymore. If that makes sense.
Yeah, you're in a different position. These are grown adults now, and they're adults in basic training too, but grown adults in the sense that they got some experience under their belt, or at least they know what the right thing is to do.
Yeah. And the big thing is especially being a master sergeant now, in BMT, it's different, right? Master sergeant, you're talking to trainees or even techs for that matter, you have to come at it in a different approach, because you got to be able to, if I were to come in full force and just constantly yelling at somebody or talking to somebody like that, in a demeaning manner, which you don't in BMT, but people feel that way, you're going to lose trust quickly. So I'm trying to develop that trust. And, if anybody that's coming back, not just fire dogs, but, anybody coming back, like first, hey, you got to develop that trust with your people.
Yeah. I think it's more important than a lot of people might realize, maybe young leaders. And I say that because maybe I didn't realize it as a younger leader, but I heard something the other day. Every interaction you have with somebody is either a deposit or it's a withdrawal.
I've heard that one too.
I think that's an awesome analogy, man. And it's really helped me out. But if you make more withdrawals than you do deposits, you're going to have no relationship capital with that person.
Yep.
And regardless of who they are, they're going to stop listening to you. And in basic training, it's okay because the environment is built for you as a TI. My job is to take withdrawals, because I'm shaping you to be what the Air Force wants. But now in the operational Air Force, it's a lot more.
It's a lot of give and take.
Yeah,
it's a lot of give and take. Yeah, sometimes a little bit more give than the take. You know what I mean? So it's coming back. I'm just, like I said, I'm getting back into it. As we speak. So we're getting there.
Yeah, you got to make those deposits. You got to build the relationships so the guys and the girls will listen to you.
Yes, sir.
So, Jordan, considering you've just recently done a little moving around with jobs and duty stations, can you share with us how you remain resilient through the process? I know moving around and changing jobs, that could be tough.
Yeah. So, the big thing for me is, as far as resiliency, I know that's a big thing in the United States Air Force now, especially with everything that's going on right now, right? You got to believe in your capabilities. You got to believe in what you have, and what you have to offer is important to the people around you, because no matter what you do, it's all important. It's all important what we do. And you have to be able to believe in that. Like I said before, all the stuff that I may have lost as a fire dog, I'm gaining it back, but I gained so much leadership knowledge being able to lead all the people that I did. So you got to be able to bring that to Eglin, not just fire and emergency services, but across Eglin. And I think that's what we have to do as people coming back from DSDs, not just being an MTI, but across all DSDs. We got to be able to bring that knowledge that we learned there and bring it back. I think that's the way you remain resilient, and take your time. Senior Master Sergeant Webster, we had a long conversation, right? Sitting there thinking like, man, what am I doing? What do I got to do to get better? And he just told me, do what makes you happy. Right. And that resonated with me. First thing, you got to take care of your family. If your family's not squared away and they're not taken care of, then you're going to have a tough time, because you're going to be worried about them. Take care of them, which I have. My kids are in school. My wife's got a job. She's working full time. She's doing great. My dogs are taken care of. So now I can really focus in on getting back into it. And I got to take my time just like with everybody else. They got to take their time. You can't, we're so worried about what's the next job? What's the next job? Learn that job. Learn the job that you're in, and then go up. That's how I remain resilient. That's why I kind of try to express to not only my kids, my trainees, my people that I work with, and most of all myself. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But that's the way I try to get after it.
Yeah, we compare ourselves to each other a lot of times, and
comparison is a thief of happiness.
Well, there you go. That's a great way of saying it. You compare yourself to everybody else when you should be comparing yourself to who you were yesterday.
I love that.
You know, and just be a better you, because you're different than everybody else. You're not the same. And like you said, everybody brings something different to the team. And you're a TI, so you bring those set of skills. You have to lean on what your strengths are and find out how that can help the team, instead of trying to be somebody else or trying to get into this job or whatever. You know, do good in whatever you're doing.
Absolutely.
But well, Jordan, you got anything else to add, man? You got any more talk points you want to hit on?
No, I appreciate you having me on here, being able to tell my story, but I don't want my story just to be about me. I want it to be able to benefit other people, because we have a ton of MTIs that are firefighters that are down there doing the thing, and they're going to be coming back soon. They're going to need help from all of us, right? To come in and put that arm around their shoulder, say, look, we got you, because don't let it get wrong. We try to put something off like we're big and bad, but when on the inside we're a little nervous. You know what I mean? We like to always say, we're a little nervous. You know what I mean? So
big softies.
We are
big testers.
Well, especially me. I know I am, for sure.
That's all right, man. All right, buddy. Well, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you sharing your experience. Like I said, every episode, everybody has value to add, and I appreciate you coming on and sharing
Absolutely.
some nuggets. Hopefully it's going to help somebody out.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Fire Dog Podcast. You can find more content just like this regularly posted to our Facebook page at facebook.com/the Fire Dog Podcast. That's facebook.com/the Fire DAWG Podcast. Please like, subscribe, share with your friends and coworkers. And if you like what you've heard so far, don't forget to rate this episode wherever you listen to your podcasts. This is host Matt Wilson and guest Jordon Pritchett. Until next time, stay safe.